Okay, so this video is all about how to get an effective reverb on your snare. In the scenario I'm setting up, you're ready to mix your drums, and here's what we have so far. Okay, so it may be the case that the physical space in which you recorded your drums was not ideal, or maybe you're using samples. In either case, you'll want to add some dimension to your drums. Specifically in this example, we're looking at the snare. So if you've been having trouble with this, here's the first problem you've probably come across. I'm going to go to my inserts, and I'm going to add a reverb. I'm just going to go with the air reverb for now, so if you're following along in Pro Tools, you'll definitely have this plugin. But pretty much any other reverb plugin will do. I'm just putting it on as an insert for now, but we'll probably set up a send and return afterwards. I'll show you how to do that as well. So let's play this back. Okay, I'm going to turn down my mix. Okay, my room size is far too large, so I'm going to turn that down. Okay, I've got the room size that I want, but it appears to just be getting lost in the mix, so I'll compensate by turning up the reverb time so I can hear more tail. But now it's getting far too large and mushy. So here's what we can do. Your friend here is pre-delay. So pre-delay is an adjustable parameter that allows you to control the time between the original dry sound and the onset of reverb. So the first early reflections coming back. Let's play with this a little bit. So to start with, actually I'm going to turn down my reverb time and I'm going to turn down my room size to nothing. And I'm going to solo my snare. Now I'm going to turn up my pre-delay. So what you're hearing there is actually a pure delay, the time between the original dry sound and the onset of the reverb. Now because the room size is set to 0 and the reverb time is set to 0, we're just hearing a pure delay of that sound. But that time delay actually will allow a smaller, tighter reverb to sit well in the mix. So now let's turn up the room size and the reverb time. Let's bring it in the mix. The original. Let's do it without the pre-delay. You can barely hear the reverb at all. Turn up the pre-delay. Okay, so let's try doing this with a send and return now. So I'm going to make this plugin inactive by Control Command clicking it. You could, of course, just right-click and go make inactive. And I go to my first send selector, and we'll go to, actually, let's just go to new track. So I can actually create a new aux return by going to new track. Stereo aux input, time-based samples, we'll call it reverb. Create next to current track, so we'll put it right under my snare. There it goes, and it's actually done all the routing for me as well for the buses. So let's go to the bus. Created this reverb bus for me and named it and everything. So let's put the air reverb back on this track. And let's just copy my settings actually. So go back to my original reverb. Shift Command C will copy these parameters. Go back to the new reverb on the aux return and Shift Command V will paste those plugin settings. So now I can control my blend between wet and dry via this send. Let's turn this one off. And of course, because it's a send and return, I need to make my return 100% wet. Now I can option drag this send to other tracks, my snare bottom, for example. And you can just play with those parameters to taste. So pre-delay is your friend here. This is also fantastic for vocals. If you want to ensure the clarity of the words and keep the vocal to the front of the mix, then pre-delay again can help you. But that's another video. So until next time, goodbye, and feel free to check out more tips and look for my Pro Tools for Game audio class at Pyramind Training Online.
When I first came to Pyramind, I had searched the forums and I had searched online, I had read magazines, I had talked with people, but it wasn't enough. What I needed to do was I needed to watch someone mix, start from scratch, and make their way up to a professional project.
I take them through all the steps and break it down, piece by piece. I want them to understand how sound interacts in the environment, number one. Number two, I want them to understand how instruments behave in a room, how to capture those instruments. Here's a microphone. What does a microphone go to? Here it is in a real-world environment. Now let's go back to the classroom and dissect that.
After a certain amount of time within the core program, you have access to the studios, right? And you have access to the microphones. And you have access to just bring in whoever you want and record. The first two Tumbleweed Wanderers EPs, they were both completely tracked here.
I brought my band in, we set up drums, did overdubs, had other Pyramind students on board as engineers, and we had a really, really good time tracking those songs.
There's a lot of hands-on experience. You get to see bands get recorded, you get to be involved with setting up the mics, the miking techniques, the compressors, how everything in a studio flows. It's good to have that knowledge and the hands-on experience with the professionals that have done that kind of work.
There's no shortage to what you can do. It's a supportive environment that says, here is a space where you can be creative and mess up, and not only will we not judge you for messing up, we'll applaud you in those efforts.